10th, 2019 with my next update video. So here we are, another update, another week, another update. This one's going to be a little bit different. I have very few projects to show you, but I did something a little different. So I pulled all the questions for Q&A. I pulled them yesterday, actually, and it was extensive. It was like over a page worth of questions typed out. And I thought, okay, I could sit here and yammer at y'all and try to answer these questions, or I could do something different. So that's what I ultimately decided to do. And this morning, about 2 hours ago, I filmed a Stitch With Me where I answered the Q&A. And so when we get to that segment, I will insert that, that bit just to spice things up and make things a little bit more interesting, give you something to look up at if you want to take a break from your own stitching, but like really it's just me jabbering away. So there is that. And then, like I said, just a few whips. I have some amazing stitchy kindness. I have plans, and then we are going to talk books. I haven't finished anything in books yet, maybe tomorrow or the next day, but I would like to go over my plans for the School of Magical Stitches July and August reading extra credit. And sort of what my choices are for that, as well as the alternate reading challenge. So I thought that I would explain what I've chosen for those things in case some of them you're stumped on and you need some ideas. So these are a few more ideas. As far as the stitching extra credit is concerned, I didn't pull that. There's a couple of reasons. One of them is I am almost halfway done, and so it seems a little redundant. The other thing is that I just don't, we're 10 days into the month now. I don't know if that's really necessary, unless you guys want it. If you want me to go through my choices for the stitching extra credit and the team 24-hour acrostic in 24 hours of cross stitch, if you want me to go through those, let me know, and I will endeavor to do that next time. But I don't know. I was having a hard time with it. So y'all let me know. I'll give you an opportunity here to direct a little bit. So without much more preamble than that, actually, that reminds me, that and that girl. I just want to take a second here to wish everybody in the United States, I hope that you had a good 4th of July. I hope you got to spend it with friends and family. If you celebrate. We had a very chillax actual 4th of July. That day was really, it wasn't the 4th of July in my neighborhood. So where we live, they have their big 4th of July. It's usually the Saturday following the actual 4th. Parade, community events, and a big fireworks show on the lake. And so that was on Saturday. But because I live in Virginia, and maybe this is the case elsewhere, but the 4th of July is really more of a guideline. Basically what it means around here is that you shoot off fireworks in about a 2-week window surrounding the 4th. So we're still in it. My neighbors are still shooting off fireworks at night, which is just so much fun. Yeah. Thor's not affected, but it just bugs me. Like, why? Anyway, so let's go ahead and switch over to the Q&A. As I said, Q&A is a little bit different this go around. But I just wanted to make mention here before I get it started that this is not going to be the setup moving forward. Like, I'm not going to be doing this kind of Stitch With Me for every question that comes in. This was more of a means to an end. I had a ton of questions to catch up on, and so I just thought that I would do it like this. Speaking of there being a ton, it's about 20 minutes. So if that's not your thing, skip ahead. yeah, it's lengthy. It was actually longer than that, but I had some weird audio things that happened. I don't know. I must have been talking behind my hands, and volume completely dropped off, and so you couldn't hear me like but every other word or something. Like, it was bizarre. So I just cut those things out. So if you're watching that Q&A segment and you asked a question in the last 4 videos, and you're not seeing an answer, I will either reply to your comment when you ask the question with a response, or I'll address it next time, just for simplicity's sake. There wasn't really an opportunity where I could like sneak in and try to squeeze in a response because I was doing a stitch with me. It would have been all messed up. So anyway, so there is that. So let's go ahead and get it going. I will insert those clips here. Okay, everybody. So as I explained, I am doing my Q&A a little bit differently this time. I am going to stitch while I answer these questions. I have a 1.5 pages worth of questions to answer, so I thought that this would just make things a little bit more interesting. You already know this, so let's just go ahead and get started. One thing, well, I guess before we get started, this is not going to be a HAED stitching demo or tutorial or anything like that. It just happens to be what I'm working on right now. So you won't find anything about HAED stitching in this. You'll get to see it in action, but I'm not going to really explain anything. For those who have seen my HAED demos in the past, you will notice that I'm going to skip a few colors. That's because they need to be woven in under, and it's just not worth it for this little segment for me to be weaving in under colors. So I am instead just going to stitch those that are going to be parked below, and just to make life just a little bit more simple. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my questions over here to the left. Let's see if I can point over there. So I will read, I'm just gonna read them straight off. I copy and pasted them from the comment sections of my last video. So here we go. Jarrett asked, for your In This Moment post on Instagram, you have the page gridded out and mark off your page finishes. Do you use a certain program for that? Is there a tutorial I missed on how to do that? And I guess there is, because I did do a demo on that. I use Mac numbers to create those grids, and I posted several weeks ago a demo on how to do that. So I will be sure to link that in the description box below, and I will also I'll also stick it here up in the right hand corner, so that you can click and go straight to that. It is, like I said, it's a Mac numbers tutorial, but I have heard that it helps give sort of a baseline so that people can then apply it to other programs. But I don't use other programs, so that's what I know. Okay. Of course, I would be in one of the highest confetti blocks for this. So I'm going to be switching colors pretty frequently. Okay, next is a question from Christine L. And Christine wants to know if I'm stitching the anniversaries of the heart, the designs from Blackbird Designs, if I'm stitching them separately or all together. And I wavered on this for a long time. I went back and forth, but I have ultimately decided that I think all in one piece is going to be the way to go for me. I really like the way that looks, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, what fabric I'm going to do that on, that is yet to be determined. I would like to do it on 40 count because just to shrink it down a little bit, because otherwise it's going to be a fat half. It's going to be a massive, massive piece. So I would like to do it on 40 count, but there are a lot of over 1 sections, and I don't know how I feel about that. So we shall see. Y'all know when you're waiting on a phone call all day long and it's not coming and it's not happening, and then at the least opportune moment is when you get that phone call. That's what just happened. So there's a little bit of a break there. I had to get up, and so we are all shifted out of the way, and things are not in quite the same space as they were, but that's life. So, okay, so next question is coming from Hazel D, and Hazel is very close to finishing a project, and Hazel says that the instructions say to use a silver sequin with a clear bead. I'm a little bit intimidated, so do you have any advice as to how I even begin? So I am going to demonstrate this. Let's say, for argument's sake, that this project is calling for a sequin. Well, okay, so I actually happen to have some sequins here because McKenna, Stitching in Sequins, sent some to me a while back, and I happened to hold on to them for the opportune moment. So this appears to be it. So let's say my sequin needs to go right here, where my needle is coming up there. You see that? Okay, so what they want you to do is attach the sequin. What you can do is run your needle through the sequin and then run it back down, but then you get this little bar there, and it's not terribly secure like that. It's loosey-goosey, and so that's not a great way to do it. So what they want you to do, I'm fairly certain, is not get your thread tied up, which is what I did. There we go. Okay, so you still come up at the place where the center of your sequin is supposed to go. Okay, then you pick up a bead, and I just happen to have my Queen Anne's lace beads over here, so I'm going to grab a size 10. It's going to be big, but it'll fit this larger needle than I use for beading. Okay, then you're going to go back through that sequin and back through that same hole that you came up in. So you see that there? Can you see that? My needle is going back down through the sequin and into that same hole that I came up out of. And then I'm going to pull through. And it works out nicely for this one because it's like a nice little center of the flower. Now this bead is a size 10, like I said, so it's not going to lay flush, but it's pretty close. So that's what they're after, to attach that sequin, but to make it look like it's sewn on, essentially. I had to do that for Elizabeth from Glendon Place, so I know what that's like. Wait, was it that? No, it was Graceful Reindeer. I was contemplating using some sequin-like charms, and that's what I did. So there's that. And Hazel, I hope that helps. So I'm gonna get back to what I was doing. Thanks, McKenna, for the assist on that one. Okay, let me get reattached here and back to where I'm supposed to be. I can also clear away the beads because I don't need those for my HAED. Okay, next question is coming from Ari Stitches. And Ari, or Ari, forgive me, says, I was wondering if you could tell me when you're parking, how many stitches away are you willing to carry to park? Well, this is perfect. So, my general rule is that I will park within a 10 stitch radius. But that's kind of vague. If this color happens here and then not again until stitch 100 in the block below, I'll make that jump. That's like an 18 stitch jump, but nonetheless. Now, with this project, especially where I'm at now, I've got a vine here, a leaf here, and then a big, big flower here. Some of these colors are jumping a little bit further than a single block because it just makes more sense to me to carry this thread down to the next section where it's needed. I don't always do that, and I won't go any further than another block away, but otherwise I'm going to be tying off threads all the time with this, and I don't get any show through. I don't have any issues with the dark threads, because these are pretty dark threads, showing through on the lighter threads. I don't have any issues with that, so I will carry just a little bit further in that case. So you'll see a few of these. This thread parked way over here. There are 2 blocks above it that aren't finished, so that likely came from this block up here. Yeah, that one came way far down. Yeah, that's further than I normally go. So I must have been feeling really lazy when I was working that block. Anyway, so I hope that answers that question. I've got to keep moving here, because otherwise this is going to be like 45 minutes long on its own. Okay, Emily Dyes Fiber. These questions now are going to start coming from the WIPGO and spreadsheet video. So Emily Dyes Fiber, can you elaborate on your size ranking system? I saw the numbers that correspond to the ranks, but I'm not quite sure what the numbers refer to. Okay, so in that video, if you didn't watch it, I have followed the Link is My Homeboy ranking system to essentially size up my projects. So just get an idea of what the sizes are. And so for instance, a small is smaller than 100, a medium is 100 to 200, a large is 200 to 300, etc., etc., etc. And that number is figured by taking the width of the design, adding it to the height of the design, and then dividing that number by 2. So for instance, Forever and Ever, I'm choosing this one because it's really easy math, is 159 by 159. Well, 159 plus 159 is 318, and divided by 2 is 159. So that one's really obvious. It lands in the, the medium range. So that is how you calculate stitch count, so to speak, for Stitch from Stash. And so I just applied that to choosing my ranking system. Hope that helps. I did explain that to Emily in the comment section, but I know that several others had questions about that, so I just thought that I would be sure to address it here today. Okay, Sarah Woolley has a question about WIPGO. And Sarah says, if it is called but not finished and you reach the goal later in the year, does it complete as soon as it's finished, or does it have to be called again? No, it does not have to be called again. Case in point is Queen Anne's Lace. That was called in WIPGO in May. I finished it in June and automatically marked that spot on the WIPGO board as complete. So that is irrelevant. It just has to be called first for me at some point. So if there's a project that I called in January, and I can't remember what my January ones were, but if I complete that in December, then it gets marked in December. That's fine. Not a big deal. Okay. Isabel's moments with crafts. Isabel's first question, are you a Redskins fan? She says that her husband saw my Redskin needle minder, and so that's what prompted the question. And the short answer to that is yes. We are a Redskins household. The longer answer is that I didn't give a lick about football. Keep in mind that I grew up in Michigan, and when I started paying attention to what was going on in sports, the Detroit Lions had their 0-16 season. And so football just never stuck for me. Like I was not interested. So that was a wash. When I moved to Virginia, I really got into college football, and I started caring about college football. And it wasn't until I got with Danny that the NFL made any impact on my life. And then I started doing fantasy football with him, and so the rest is, as they say, history. So we are a Redskins household. He was born and raised a Redskins fan. His dad is a longtime Redskins fan. So yeah, we are a Redskins house. And that's the DC team for those who don't know. Okay, so a little bit of a jump here. I finished up this block as far as I'm willing to go while on video. Here I'll have to go back and fill in those colors after the fact, put those threads up, pulled the new set down, and we are ready to rock and roll again. Next question is coming from Jack Slow. Jack Slow says, but what are these classes you talk about? Obviously they are in a group and a stitch along, but do you have a video about them? So I don't necessarily have a video about these classes, and this is referring to School of Magical Stitches. So School of Magical Stitches is a group on Facebook, and it is Harry Potter based, stitch along, challenge, what have you. It is always linked in my description box below. It's a lot of fun. It has pretty much taken over a vast majority of the stitching community this year, and I highly recommend checking it out if you are a Facebook kind of person. Okay, let's see here. Next question. This one's kind of discussion-y. It is coming from Belinda Aussie Stitcher, and I'm going to read what Belinda wrote. Okay, she says, you're going to spend so much time in finishing your whips that will never be FFO'd. Would that time be better spent finishing the whips that you do want to FFO and just UFO the others? At the end of the day, the others will end up UFO, just finished UFOs. I understand the want to finish something that close, but if they will just be, page 2, put in a box and forgotten, what's the difference? So this is something that I sat with for a good little while and considered. So I had a look at my whips, and I looked at the ones that meet this criteria. These projects that I am not super in love with anymore, but that are so close to finish that I've decided I'm just going to try to finish them. And what I came up with were a total of 2 projects. 2. And so that to me is worth it to just truck on, to just continue on and to get them finished. Because getting them finished ultimately feels really good. I happen to enjoy that. So that's kind of my thinking with that. The other thing is that I am notoriously bad at fully finishing anything. The projects that I love, the projects that I don't love, etc., etc., etc. So then, I mean, what's the difference comes back into the conversation. What's the difference in Jessie's world between an FFO and just an FO? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of difference there. I have plenty of projects in the bin of shame, as they say, or bin of awesome, depending on your perspective. Okay. I hope that answers that question, Belinda. That's a really good thinking point. I really sat with that for a while to try to figure out my own thoughts on it. Okay, next 2 questions are about Joan, Elliott, July. Chelsea O, she asked if Rose Fairy was going to be my whip for that, and it is, most definitely. Okay, the next question is coming from Shell M. Shell also is asking about Joan, Elliott, July. And Shell says, Joan, Elliott, July? I did not know about this. Time to dig out Earth Goddess for some love. And Earth Goddess is the reason that Rose Fairy is my focus for this Joan, Elliott, July. Because I would really like to get to my own Earth Goddess at some point this year, but the only thing standing in my way of that is Rose Fairy. So I've got to get a move on and get Rose Fairy finished, because, yeah, Earth Goddess is calling. I missed that project. And but I don't want to break rules. So there we go. Carolina S. points out that she has a birthday in September, and so maybe I could start a mermaid. So I will have a look. And P suggested that if I was looking for something to start in September, that maybe I could start the 10th of the Songbirds Garden series. That's a possibility. However, Vinny recently, like within the last day, released a preview of Songbirds 11, and there's a pumpkin, a jack-o'-lantern. So that's a possibility for a September start. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The final question that I have here is from Amy, Amityville Amy, and Amy would like to know why I look so amazing in a hat and Amy supposedly looks like a doofus. And my only answer for you, my dear Amy, is that A, I don't think you would look doofus in a hat. Look like a doofus in a hat. And B, some of us are dealt able to wear a knitted hat cards, and some of us are dealt the Be Awesome card. And you, my friend, you totally got the Be Awesome card. I'm just saying, because you are just spectacular. Much love to you, girl. Okay, that is going to do it. So I am going to head off here and get you back to the other video. Thanks for watching. I hope it wasn't too much of a mumbly, rambly mess. Okay, y'all. See you later. Now, as I said, I guess 20 minutes ago, your time, this is not going to be the standard moving forward. But nonetheless, I hope that that was at least a little bit different and somewhat enjoyable. Anyway, let's go ahead and switch over and start talking about some works in progress. Okay, so when last we spoke, I was working on Rose Fairy by Joan Elliott. I had swapped around my rotations, and so the first 5 days of the month I was devoting to this project. So that is what she will look like finished. And if I remember correctly, I was feeling kind of so-so about my progress that I had made up until that point. Let me just tell you that the next 2 days I made a complete 180. I did some pretty good work on this project the next couple of days, and I am really excited about what I did. So this is on a 28 count Lugana in Confetti by Picture This Plus. And we have a whole girl here. She needs backstitch because you can't really see any of her skin, but she has a whole arm and a hand. She has her midriff, which is bare. Her legs are down there, but those were done previously. So obviously I've been focusing in the top here, and the top is not done. I still have some details before I reach the official halfway line, but nonetheless, pretty close. And then of course backstitch for days. But nonetheless, I'm so excited. I just over the moon that I was able to get this far in 10 days. Like, that's how much I've put into this project. And here's what I had before. I had skirt, legs, and those few flowers. And now there's like a whole person in here. Like, that's just wild to me. It's wild. What on earth has taken me so long with this project? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Sometimes they get done when they're ready, not when we are. So yeah, very excited about that. I was super excited to get the skin done. Like, that's a huge milestone for me on these Pretty Lady projects. I'm very excited. Okay, so then Saturday was the kickoff to the Tour de France, and Full Coverage Fanatics is running an event with that. I'll talk about that here in a second. Before I could get to my HAED, I had to get my homework finished. My School of Magical Stitches homework was due the next day. Yeah, had to make this priority number 1 for the day. My last task for that was to work on Haunted House, and this was to work on a project that you haven't worked on in at least 5 months. And before this point, I hadn't worked on it since October, I think. So, Haunted House by Clouds Factory. And I'm super excited about this progress too, even though I only worked on it for a couple hours. Did some good stuff. This side, there we go. So this is on 32 count Belfast in Ombriel by Under the Sea Fabrics. And so the changes, I mean, it's not really that staggering, but I finished a page. So I finished page 3. This cloud, which is just a lot of long stretches of stitches and 2 bats. That's all I needed for page 3. So I'm really excited. I got another page done. It's a total of 8 pages, so I have a long ways to go. But nonetheless, I'm really excited. Also, when I started this project, I knew that I was tight on these side-to-side margins. So this time I measured from here to about where I need to get, and I think I'm going to have 1.5 inches on each side, which is like awesome. I mean, that's really, really great to know that I'm going to have at least that much, because honestly, I wasn't sure that I was going to have 1 inch, let alone 1.5 inches. So I'm very excited. Turns out it's going to fit, and I may not have to trim it. So very cool, very excited. I love this project. Again, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Saturday afternoon, and really I think it worked out to be more like Saturday evening, it was finally time for me to get going on my full coverage design and to get going on the Tour de France. So I got a late start, but it's okay, not a problem. And so I'm just going to tell y'all right now up front, I had such a snail of a start with this. I mean, honest to goodness, I have struggled really getting into this. I did finally yesterday. I found what I call my groove with it, and I have been able to put in some stitches pretty quick but for whatever reason I was really struggling. So this is Mika McKenna, aka In This Moment by Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Jeremiah Kettner. Okay, so this is on 25 count Lugana in cream from Zwaggart. I stitched all of my HAEDs 1/1 full cross, and I have been working here in page 5. I had already started page 5. I started it during the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Marathon event in early June, and so I had already started it, but I didn't start it how I normally do. So with this top row of pages, I like to work the top row of blocks, and I hadn't done that. So that was my second task, actually. I ended up doing that on Sunday. And I've stitched 300 or 400 stitches a day until yesterday. Yesterday I had a phenomenal stitching day, and I was able to catch up with my own pace on this. Finally, it took forever. So that's about where I'm up to. I still have this on the frame. Today is supposedly my last day with this project, but I'm probably going to give it a few more days. I'll talk about that here in plans when we get to it. So anyway, there we have it. Having fun, finally, because it wasn't at first. The last project I have to show you is my daily 30 piece. And for the month of July, that is Stone Street Stitchworks Fireworks on the 4th. And I'm having such a ball with this. Just absolutely loving this. From the aesthetic to the threads that I'm using, this is just so much fun. And I'm really hoping I can get it finished this month. That would be great. Now the progress is, let me think, last Thursday and Friday, my 30 minutes. And then Monday and Tuesday, my 30 minutes. And then I also worked on this for another task in that same group. So a little over 200 stitches for that. So there's quite a bit of progress here, but it's not exactly just the 30-minute bit. So here is where we're at. Let me move my needle minder out of the way. Or not my needle minder, but my needle. How cool is that? I'm loving it. This is on 32 count Belfast and Beach Walk from Under the Sea Fabrics. I am using DMC Etoile in 816 and 820 for the red and blue, respectively. And then Petite Treasure Braid. No, not Petite Treasure Braid. Petite Silk Lame Braid. I believe it's PSL 10, but I'll insert that down here for those who are curious about which color number that is for the white. And I'm just super enjoying this. It's been just a lot of fun to work on a little bit every day. And it's got me thinking about this daily 30 thing and what I want to do with it moving forward. So I may be doing like a focus on a finish as my daily 30 piece each month. We'll see. Right now I'm just working on this and so enjoying it. And I still have to do my daily 30 bit today, so I will probably do that after filming here. Oh, love. So much fun. With that being the only projects I've worked on in the last week, 4, that's not too bad. Let's go ahead and switch over and let's talk about some plans. Okay, plans are going to be a little bit different than usual. So I have yet to do my School of Magical Stitches homework for this week. I'm actually in the midst of part of it. So this week is with relation to 12 Grimald Place, and we are to, from our WIP albums, pull projects 1, 2, or 12, and choose 2 of those, and to put in 500 stitches in each. And there are alternates and things. For me, project 1 is Rose Fairy, project 2 is In This Moment, and project 12 is Spooky Countdown. I have mine listed chronologically in when I've started them, unless they were added in later when I removed finishes. So yeah, so anytime they pull number 1, it's gonna be Rose Fairy for me until she's finished, and then it'll be In This Moment, you know. So anyway, that is that. So I still have yet to work on Rose Fairy this week. Once I reach my goal on In This Moment, and I'll talk about that here in a second, then I'll pull out Rose Fairy and get the homework done. So my goal for In This Moment is 7,200 stitches for the whole month, because I would like to catch up on By the Numbers. I have finished up June 2,400 By the Numbers. I'm in the midst of June 1,200. I'm pretty sure I only have like 100 stitches to go on that, so that's pretty great. No, I got more than that to go. I don't know. It's fine. So there's that. And then July 2,400 and July 1,200. Fortunately, those can overlap with the Tour de France, so all is good. I am up through stage 9 of the Tour de France. You can work ahead, so that's great. There are 23 stages, but 2 of them are rest days, so I'm almost halfway there, which I'm a super fan of. Okay, so immediate plan is In This Moment until I get the June By the Numbers 1,200 done for full coverage fanatics. Then after that, Rose Fairy for 500 stitches to get my homework done. And then I have decided to go a little off the rails. Okay, so here's what got this going. Here's what started this. School of Magical Stitches and Literature released the Extreme Stitching Challenge and the Outrageous Headmistress Challenge, or Headmistress Outrageous. I can't remember which order. Irrelevant. And it's madness and chaos. There's a lot to take in and to navigate and figure out. There's been a lot of discussions on posting formats and things like that. But the first thing that I have to do before I can even mentally tackle that is I have to finish my ultimate stitching challenge first. I'm not done yet. I have 7 tasks left, and I have worked it in so that the projects I'm working for those 7 tasks are, for the most part, things I was already planning on working on for my rotation or Team 24 acrostic or Magical Stitches extra credit. I know that those 2 things cannot overlap, but I was already planning on pulling out those projects anyway. So that's kind of where my head is at as far as the ultimate challenge. I would really like to get through that as quickly as possible because we've only got 5 months left of the year. And those extreme challenges end December 31st. And so to earn as many points as possible for Gryffindor, I would like to get on that. So I'm going to have to find a way to prioritize and work through that. So ultimately what I have decided is that I've put all of my goals in a wheel on Tiny Decisions. And I'm going to insert it here so that you can see the number of projects. Listed on there, I think, is Rose Fairy and In This Moment. And I think that I'm pulling both of those out because Rose Fairy is just for homework this week, I think. I'll check on that. And In This Moment, I have a different plan for that. So this week, here's what it's going to look like. In This Moment, until I finish by the numbers June 1200. Rose Fairy, 500 stitches for homework. Spin the wheel. Work on that project until the goal is met, whatever that may be. Back to In This Moment for 1,200 stitches. I have In This Moment pegged for 3 tasks in the 24-hour acrostic. I have it for another School of Magical Stitches Ultimate. I would like to finish the Tour de France. So my plan is to alternate between wheel spin and In This Moment for 1,200 stitches and try to cycle through that way. Cycle, that's funny. So that's kind of my plan. I don't really have anything to show you as far as plans except my wheel there, but that's just the way that it's going to work out this month. I don't know that I'm ever going to get back to my scheduled rotation. I have come to terms with the fact that that may be a long and forgotten idea, just with the way that this year is shaping up. If I didn't have all of these challenges happening, then I would be able to do what I had set out at the beginning of the year. But that's just unrealistic at this point. So, a wash. No problems there. So, that is all I've got for plans. And so we're going to switch over to purchases and the most beautiful stitchy kindness. The title, 3 Bags and a Pamphlet, is about to come into effect here because a little over 75% of what I've got to show you in this segment here is project bags. Yep. So, I am weak. I was not supposed to be buying project bags unless I reached WIPCO goals and got bingo, and instead I've gone a little hog wild with the project bags. Just a little bit. So, anyway, opportune moment. I happen to be on Facebook doing the Facebook scroll trying to tell myself to stop and go stitch when Emily C. posted this series, 2 Eclectic Possessions. So here's another Momily bag. It's just gorgeous. So make a really pretty tattoo. And then this coordinating fabric here has got little X's on it, which I adore. And then the interior is, oh gosh, it's so pretty. gray and yellow, grello, which is kind of one of my favorite color combinations nowadays. Yep, that's beautiful. Absolutely love this. So, super excited about that. And then Diana went ahead and listed some bags. And I said, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Can I have it, please? And so I got one of her bag sets. So it's got the full size. This is my first vinyl front bag. Yep. And so I'll just show you them together. Look. Just look. Oh, this ochre with the black and gray. I've got Ink Master on the mind. I'm sorry. And then this maroon interior fabric. And these pretty little bow zipper pulls. Ugh. Love it. Love it. Love it. Obsessed with these. Obsessed with them. They have been sitting and waiting unused until today. Yep. Unbelievable. Such awesome going on there. Okay. Stitchy kindness time. I have been on the hunt for Blackbird Designs Anniversaries of the Heart Farmhouse. It is number 5 in the series. It's the one in the whole series of 12 that has fallen off the face of the earth. Not sure what happened there, but Blackbird Designs problems, I guess. And I was contacted by a beautiful friend. Ugh, this is something else. And they said that they found it at their LNS in stock, retail pricing. She said, would you like me to get it and send it to you? And I said, yes, but please let me pay for it. Please let me pay for shipping. Please, please, please. She said, no. I'm so excited. Sorry for the squeal. Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I decided not to name who this is, just in case they got bombarded. But you know who you are, and so much love to you. Yeah, I'm going to have to return the favor if I can. If I can. We'll see. So, thank you for this. Did they stop there? No. Because the Stitchy community is sometimes amazing. My second vinyl front project bag. Unbelievable. They said, a project as beautiful as this deserves a beautiful project bag to fit in. And, that's coming up more. Oh, there it goes. It's like a denim-y blue background. So I got a thing for flowers, I guess. This would also make a really pretty tattoo. And then this coordinating. Oh, so good. So good. I am so incredibly spoiled. It's not even funny. Like, without words. So I just want to end this segment here. I'm going to sound a little meme-ish, a little cheesy, cliche, what have you, but I'm feeling #blessed. The generosity has been overwhelming, and I hope that I can give back in the way that I have been gifted. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. So with that, we're going to switch over and we're going to talk about books, because that's going to be our last segment for the day. Okay, so let's get started talking about books. The first thing I'm going to show you here are the things that I'm currently reading. They are, like I said before, I don't have anything that I've finished recently, but nonetheless, to bring you up to speed on what I'm currently got going on. So, they're all kind of chunky, actually. Okay, so the first is Perfect by Ellen Hopkins. This is a novel in verse, so it's over 600 pages, but like not really. And this is a sequel to Impulse by Ellen Hopkins, of course. So Impulse followed a few characters at in a psychiatric ward. Perfect barely links to the characters in that book. It barely links to that story. But this is kind of individual. It's separate on its own. It's more of a companion novel than an actual sequel. So you can read this one without reading the other one. And so this is following 5 characters who strive for absolute perfection in various ways in their lives and the consequences of that. It's pretty intense so far. I'm barely into it, but if I sit down and read this, I'll read it in a couple days. Like it won't take much to finish this. I read that 100 pages? Yeah, in like 40 minutes tops. So it's really fast because, like I said, it's in verse, and it's interesting. It's very engaging. It is young adult, so just so you're aware of that. It's contemporary fiction, and I am trying to read Hopkins' library. She's written a lot, and they're all big, chunky verse books like this, but I really like her style. I like novels in verse. So, currently reading that. This does not meet any challenges in School of Magical Stitches. I just picked it up. Up next, I am actually listening to this on audiobook, but I have it here. This is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, aka my least favorite of this series because it gives me anxiety. Just the events in this book, it's really intense, it's really dark. I'm okay with dark, but I don't know, I have a hard time with this story. Maybe because it makes me feel things, who knows. So this is the 5th in the series. I am a little over a third of the way through. My bookmark needs to move. I just track my progress in the physical copy because I think I said before I don't like to break the spines on these. Yeah. The audiobook version that I'm listening to is the Jim Dale version, which was available on Audible, so that's what I grabbed. And I love Jim Dale as a narrator. He does this pretty well. His Hermione leaves a little bit something to be desired, but nonetheless, it's engaging enough. Super loving this. And I'll probably finish this before the end of July, even though I have it sort of scheduled out to span 2 months. So there's that. So currently, I listen to 2 chapters of Harry Potter in the mornings, and then I read as much as I can or want to on Perfect, and then I'm trying to get in the habit of reading before going to bed, just to help my brain sort of turn off a little better. I'm trying to affect my sleep patterns because it's been problematic. We'll just go with that. So this is the book that I read in 30-minute bits, give or take, every night before bed. So this is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Isn't this great pre-bedtime reading? She says with a heavy dose of sarcasm. This is World War II historical fiction, focusing mostly on the German occupation of France. So this is I'm going to talk very briefly about this because I'll talk more about it when I finish it. But it follows 2 characters sort of on opposite sides of things. And then alternating timelines. We jumped from well before the war breaks out to just before to after. And then I imagine that there's going to be some well after the events timelines here. But I don't know that for certain. Anyway, so we follow two characters. One of them is Werner, or Werner, depending on pronunciation. And I have no German, but nonetheless. And he is a boy who grows up in Germany. He and his sister are come from nothing. They are orphans, and they live in a coal mining town. And Werner has this science-driven mind, mechanical. He wants to know how things work and why, and he tinkers with things to try to figure them out. Very interesting character and super easy to cheer for, who eventually grows up to join the German army at a young age. On the other side, we are following Millie, and she is a girl growing up in Paris, and at a very young age, very early on in her childhood, she loses her sight. She goes completely blind. She lives in Paris with her papa, and her papa is a locksmith at a museum, a national museum, but I don't remember which museum it is. And so she encounters people there because he takes her to work with him. And then the invasion of Paris begins. So just take a second to imagine being blind and you have to evacuate. It's very intense. So far I'm only about 120 pages in. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful writing. It's super easy to imagine yourself walking alongside these characters in these situations. Yeah, it's stunning and really good, and a terrible idea to read just before bed because I want to keep going, and also a really great idea because the chapters in this, a lot of them are incredibly short. So, bam. Flip side of the page, new chapter. So that's really great for pre-bedtime reading because just say 5 more chapters. It's fine. It's only 6 pages. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this, and I will probably finish this sooner than I expect. So there's that. Okay, so let's get into the reading plans here. So obviously I've got Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is the Harry Potter reading task. Then there's the alternate reading task with School of Magical Stitches. And for this one, we have to read a total of 870 pages, at least, because that's how long Order of the Phoenix is, and 3 books. So task 1 is to read a book centered around childhood memories. And so I chose Fannie Flagg's I Still Dream About You. If that name sounds familiar, she wrote Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, aka the book that became the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, aka one of my favorite movies since I was young. I haven't read the book yet, but I am looking forward to getting into this and reading something from her. Very excited. And this links in because, there are several links in here, but in the synopsis on the inside front cover, the main character has heartbreaking secrets in her past, but through a strange turn of events, she soon discovers quite by accident that everybody, it seems, dead or alive, has at least one little secret. So, curious to see how this shakes up. Okay, the next are 2 books that I don't have with me. I am either going to borrow them from my library or get them on Kindle or get them physically. Haven't decided yet. But the first is Cats on the Cover and a Singular Cat Was Approved. And so the book that I chose was A Man Called Ove by Frederik Backman, Backman. This is a translated work, and it has made the book club rounds in the last 2 years, I think. And it's about a cantankerous old man who's likable and how he came to be like he is. So curious about that. The next is a book that has been on my 2019 list for the year. So the task is to read a book with the word Phoenix in the text, and then we need to state the page number in the sentence. The book that I chose is Crown of Feathers by Nicki Pau-Preto. Probably mispronouncing that. But this is about Phoenix riders. So I'm pretty sure the word Phoenix is going to pop up at least once in the book. Pretty sure they're also on the cover. So yeah, I'm curious about this and very excited to check it out. I may borrow that one from the library, but I have to check on what the waitlist is for because it is a newer release. Okay, so that's that task. That's that. And I don't believe... I may try to get to I Still Dream About You before the end of the month, but I have through the end of August to tackle that, so not a problem there. Okay, now let's get to the reading extra credit. And up front here, I'm going to tell you that I'm probably not going to get all of these. Some of these tasks, I could probably find a book to fit, but they aren't things that I necessarily feel like reading, and that's going to bog me down. So a couple of these I don't have a choice for, and I may run into them at some point later on. We'll see. So the first task is to read a book about a group or a club. Nothing's standing out to me that I'm really interested in reading from that, so c'est la vie. Moving on. Book 2 is with an author with the initials of either P and O or O and P for Order of the Phoenix, IS or SI for Inquisitor's Squad, DA or AD for Dumbledore's Army. And so All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, AD. So there is my choice for that. Okay, task number 3 is to read a book written by a journalist. And I have here The Flatiron by Sparberg, Alexiou. And she was a journalist. She has written for Lilith magazine. She's a contributing editor for that. She's also written for the New York Times and Newsday, among others. She's a graduate of Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism and has a PhD in classics from Fordham University. She's from New York. So, very curious about this. I have always loved the Flatiron Building. It's always been one of my favorites. And so I'm curious to read more about the building itself. Okay, next is to read something about someone who is psychic or can see the future. I've got nothing. Nothing on my shelves that stands out. Nothing that's really piquing my interest on that subject. So if I run into something, then I'll read it for this task, but I'm not going to force myself to read something that I'm not into. The same is true for the next one, a book with an army for Dumbledore's Army or a secret society for the Order of the Phoenix. Again, not sure. I may find a World War II fiction is always an interest level of mine. So maybe that or another wartime-based historical fiction novel. I'm really feeling the historical fiction right now, so we shall see. Here we go. Here's something that I am planning on reading. A book with a group of people, more than 3 on the cover. And I chose The Chilbury Ladies' Choir by Jennifer Ryan. This is World War II historical fiction. This time it's based in Chilbury, Kent, in the UK. And it's focused around a group of women whose husbands and or sons have gone off to war, and so they form the Chilbury Ladies Choir. It's all women because all of the men are gone, and there are several different members in the choir, and so we follow their lives and how the war is affecting them. So really interesting stuff. And there's at least 5 people on the cover of this one, so there's that. Up next is a book with some sort of house on it because of Grimmauld Place. So I chose Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Now this is the UK cover, so I may have to seek approval if that's okay. The US cover does not have any houses on it, but this one does. So this is a standalone fantasy novel, and I have been so curious about this for a long time. I absolutely love this cover. I'm a cover snob, and sometimes the UK does it better. So there's that. And the inside is even gorgeous. Yeah. So very curious about this. Very excited to get into it. Okay, up next is number 8, read a book with 30% or more pink on the cover. Use the Tin Eye Labs color picker thing tool to come up with something. I thought for sure Perfect from Ellen Hopkins was going to cover it. That's the one that I showed you before. It's not going to work. I tried it and it came up with tan, so that's not going to work. Pink covers usually mean lighthearted fiction. They usually mean contemporary romance, and I'm just not in the mood. It's just not my interest level at this point. Again, if I find something like a fantasy novel that is sarcastically hot pink, or a historical fiction novel that piques my interest, maybe, but I'm not holding my breath waiting for that. I searched list after list after list on Goodreads to try to find a book that would match for this, and I can't find anything that's gonna get me enough to want to read it. To potentially have to buy it, no, I'm not good. I'm good. Okay, the next book is to read a book with a bully, and so I chose Some Girls Are by Courtney Summers. I read a Courtney Summers book, it must have been 6 or 7 years ago, that was about zombies. This is contemporary young adult fiction, and it is basically about a girl who climbs the social ladder and then comes crashing down off of it because of rumors. And so she is severely bullied, and she befriends somebody that she used to bully, and so they try to navigate the rest of high school with all of this going on. And then the last one, again, I could have found something, but nothing that was really getting to me or being like, yes, read me now. A book with a mirror in the title or on the cover. I got nothing. If y'all have any recommendations for me, I will gladly hear them for all of those that I mentioned that I'm probably not going to be reading. But yeah, that's just how it's going to work for me. So with that being the last of the books to show you, that's going to bring us here towards the end. Real quick here, I didn't talk about knitting today, and that was intentional. I have knit all of one more repeat on the border of my Moonlit Path shawl. Not worth showing. So I will show that next week, hopefully finished. That would be super awesome, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Lots of stitching to do. I'm being pulled in a bunch of different directions, so we'll see how it all shakes out. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope that you're stitching. Big hug to anybody who might be going through something. Yeah, so like I said, happy stitching. As always, be kind. I'll see y'all next time.